In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how easily you can draw water like this. If you want to follow this tutorial in Procreate, you can download my free brushes and color palette. They are linked in the description of this video. And if you want to learn how to draw in Procreate, learn different styles and techniques, make sure to check out my Patreon. I add a new step-by-step drawing video every week. Link is in the description. So now, with all of that being said, grab your drawing tools, relax, and let's start. I'm going to draw here on the A4 canvas. So I'm tapping here on this A4 canvas from Procreate. And I will just rotate it this way. So first we want to add here the base color for the water. If you want to use my color palette, make sure to download it. But of course this is not necessary, you can just pick your own colors. So let's start here with like a light blue color. It's color number 1 here. And let's pick a brush. Let's go here to airbrushing. And we can use here medium brush. With a brush size about 42, let's add this here to the top corner of the canvas like this. Okay? Now we can pick another color, a little bit darker, color number 2. If you're picking your own colors, you can also adjust the hue of it. It doesn't have to be exactly from the same hue. And now we can add this here a little bit lower like this. Okay. And now let's take one more color, the darkest one, color number 3. I'll make the brush size smaller for this, maybe like 25, and we can just add it over here. Okay, at the bottom part of the canvas. So this way we can create here a gradient. And to make it very nice, we can go to the adjustments and take here Gaussian blur. Swipe your pencil on the screen to add the blur size to make them blend nicely. And I'll make it 60%. Okay, tap here to finish this. So now on top of this, we're going to start drawing here some random shapes to create here those water reflections. So let's make a new layer for this. Now let's pick the color. Take a very light blue color. For me it's color number 4 over here. And let's pick a brush. Over here I like to use pressure sensitive brush. So let's go here to inking and we can use this syrup brush. We can use brush size 100 and now just draw some wiggly shapes like this. You can make them thinner and thicker like that, okay? Just draw some shapes like that. This is nothing precise, just some wiggly shapes. Okay. Something like this. Now we can make it a little bit nicer. We can start connecting maybe here some corners like this and adding some spaces like that. We don't have to do it everywhere, of course, but in few spots, this can be like a nice effect. Okay, like this will be enough. Now we are going to duplicate this layer. So let's swipe on this layer to the left and pick duplicate. And we are going to change the color of this top one. To do it easily and quickly, we can just tap on it and pick here select. Now at the bottom, make sure the color fill is on. And we can pick a little bit lighter color, color number 5. We are going to erase a little bit of the edges of those shapes. We want them to be thinner. So for this, let's take the eraser. Let's tap on it. And we can set it here to airbrushing and medium brush. Let's make the brush size now smaller, maybe about 5%. And we can also turn down the opacity of this, maybe to about 76. Okay, and now so we can see actually much better how we are erasing this. First, we can change the blending mode of that layer that is underneath. So let's tap here on this N letter. And let's set it here to screen. And right away we can turn down the opacity of this too. We can adjust it later, but for now, let's put it maybe to 44. Okay? So now when you erase it, you can actually see better how you are erasing it. So let's go around those shapes and erase the edges of this, like this. You don't have to be precise here. You don't have to erase it everywhere also. So just like that. Let's go around them and erase it. If you need, you can of course adjust the brush size. So I'm going to first go around with this bigger brush size and then I'll make it smaller for the smaller parts. Okay, so now I'll make the brush size smaller, 2%, and just go here in those smaller lines and erase the edges of them. Okay, so we have something like this. Now let's go back here to that layer underneath, so this screen layer, and we are going to blur those lines a little bit. To do it, let's go to the adjustments and take Gaussian blur. Let's make your blur size maybe like 8%. Okay? Now let's also blur the lines on top. So let's go to this top layer and add here blur size, maybe for this one, a little bit less. Let's make it here like 3%. Okay? Now we can go back to the layer underneath, this one, and we are going to turn down the opacity of this still. I want it to be lighter in there. Let's make it maybe here like 19%. And now we're going to make this a little bit more vibrant by duplicating this layer here. So swipe on it to the left and pick duplicate. And we can take the layer underneath and change the blending mode of this to overlay. Let's make the opacity higher now. We can maybe make it about 73%. And now we are going to move those two layers here, so the overlay layer and screen layer, just a tiny bit to one side, left or right, doesn't matter. So first let's select here this layer 2, so swipe on it to the right. And now let's take arrow tool, and we can just move it lightly to one side. Maybe I'll move it down a little bit, like that. Okay. Let's tap here to finish this. And don't worry that now, for example, over here, we don't have anything drawn. Later, we can just select everything and make it a little bit bigger to cover this space too. Okay? If you want, you can still go back here to those layers and adjust the opacity if you think some of it is too strong maybe or not strong enough. So this is up to you. You can always adjust it later too. But now maybe let's still work on this layer over here, the top one. We can also adjust the opacity of it. We can maybe turn it down just a little bit, because in a moment we are going to add here some extra highlights. So maybe this one I'll make for now about 79%. And now let's make a new layer on top of this one. And we are going to change blending mode of this to add. Now we can pick here even lighter color, almost white, color number 6. And let's draw with it in few spots. So let's take a brush. And over here I would like to use one of my brushes that are free. Let's go here to siakulaart special brushes. And I would like to use here this one, soft tapered. Let's make the brush size maybe like 4%. Brush opacity 71. And we can now just draw with it in few spots along those lines, like that. So just draw along those lines in few spots over here. You can draw them on those intersections here, or just along the longer lines. Okay, I would say for me this is enough. And now we can make this shine a little bit more. For this, we can go to the adjustments and take bloom over here. But if you're not working in Procreate and don't have this option, you can just add here Gaussian blur. So I'll take here bloom option to make it really shiny. So first let's swipe on the screen to the right to add the bloom size. And then at the bottom we can adjust the other settings until we like what we see. Don't forget we can also turn down the opacity of this layer in a moment, so it doesn't have to be so bright. Okay, I think I like those settings, so my bloom size is 11, transition 64, size 22 and burn 27. Let's tap here to finish this. And now we can just turn down the opacity of this layer. So let's go over here and turn it down. I'll make it here maybe about 39. Okay. Now we can drop a shadow from those shapes. So for this we can go here to this base layer with this shape and let's duplicate it. And we are going to put it here under that overlay layer over here. We want to change the color of this to something dark. So let's tap on it and pick select. Make sure the color fill is on and let's pick here color number 3, so the darkest one. Okay. Now we're going to move it. So for this, let's take the arrow tool and we can move it. You can move it in any direction that you want. Just move it only a little bit. I'll move it over here like this. Okay, tap here to finish this. And now we're going to change the blending mode of this. So this can be actually affecting what's underneath it a little bit nicer. So let's tap here and we can set it here to color burn. And now this is too strong. We can turn down the opacity of this. I'll make it here maybe about 43. Okay. And now we can blur this. So let's go to the adjustments and take Gaussian blur. And I will make it here 7%. Okay, tap here to finish this. Now to make this a little bit nicer, we can add here still like a double kind of reflections underneath it. So for this, we're just going to take this screen layer over here and we are going to duplicate it. So swipe on it to the left and pick duplicate. Now let's take the one that is underneath here and we are going to move it. Let's take arrow tool and we can move it like that and then also rotate it. We don't want to have here exactly the same shapes as the ones that are on top. Like this. If you want, you can also pick here one of those options, flip horizontal or flip vertical. Okay, so like that. So there is something more going on in there. Let's tap here to finish this. We can also adjust the opacity. We can make it maybe a little bit stronger. I'll make it here 22. And now before we move on and add here some more colors to the bottom, we can now adjust the size of it so we don't have here those ugly cut out parts. So let's swipe on all of those layers together like this, without the color in the background. And let's take arrow tool and just make it bigger so you will not have here those cut parts anymore visible. Make sure to check all of the sides and then just tap here to finish this. Okay, so now in the end, we can add some more colors at the bottom. So let's go over here and let's make a new layer above it. Let's change blending mode of this to multiply. And let's add here a little bit of green tint. So let's take here color number 7. We can change the brush. Let's go back here to airbrushing and we can use here medium brush. Let's make the brush size about 16, brush opacity 88. And now just add here some kind of random spots somewhere at the bottom part of your canvas. If you added light to the top part of it, let's add it in the darker parts. We can also add here a little bit of blue color. So let's take color number 8 for this. It is a little bit more vibrant blue. Let's add it like that, just in a few spots. And now let's do the same, but on a different layer. So let's make a new layer. And this layer we're going to set here to color burn. We can start with this blue color. Let's add some of it like that. So just random spots. Okay. And now that green color, color number 7. Let's add it here too. And now we can maybe turn down the opacity of this so it's not so strong. I'll make it here 58. Okay. Now let's add here some light. So let's make a new layer for this. We are going to change the blending mode of this to vivid light. And let's take that blue color, color number 8. And we can now add here some lighter spots in the top part of the canvas to make it pop a little bit more. Okay, so like this. And then of course we can turn down the opacity of this so it's not too strong. I'll make it here 59. Okay, so if you want, this can be finished, but I think it's still nice to add here very small sparkly elements. We can do it here on this layer first, on this screen layer. Let's pick the color. Let's take here color number 6, so the lightest color. And for this we can use one of my brushes. Let's go here to Siakulaart freebies. And we can just use here this one, stars. Let's make the brush size smaller, 4%, and you can add it very lightly, like that, in few spots. Okay, and now we can do the same on that add layer over here. And if you like this effect and want to make it even more intense, we can change the brush. Let's go now to Siakulaart special brushes. And we can use here this one, glitter, with the brush size maybe like 28. You can now just draw with it somewhere along those lines over here, just somewhere in general on the side a little bit. So this is how easily you can draw water. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you found it useful. Please leave a comment and let me know. If you would like to share your drawing with me based on my tutorials, you can always do it on my Instagram. Just tag me over there. And if you'd like to learn more about Procreate, learn how to draw in different styles and techniques, make sure to check out my Patreon. Link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching and see you in my next video. Bye!